don't know if I'm live or not, but you know what? Hello, I'm gonna try to get the light a little bit better and more around here. Um, I'm trying to do a little bit of a live stream right now, and I was up early and went outside to kind of be among the trees and walk among the green and consider the lilies actually and all of my blessings here in the backwoods of Georgia. So, hello, good morning. This is Peggy Mercer's YouTube channel, Writing for Love and Maybe Money. And I have said several times that I was going to do a poetry video telling you how to write poetry, and I've got that on my mind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a poetry series, and so here we go with that. Yes, poetry. Welcome to a video here about the use of words in poetry. Now, I was outside just a minute ago and it's in the early part of the morning. The sun has come up here in Georgia. It is beautiful, as many of you know. It is also very hot, and as I get older, I sure as heck don't like the heat. And we used to just get out in our bathing suits in the back of my friend Linda Irwin's house on Sly Street up in town, and they had some really fabulous grass. And hello to Sonia Stevie out there. That was Linda's sister. She will remember, Gloria Griffin, you will remember how thick that grass was. It was perfect for working on our suntans, and we all got out there in our little two-piece bathing suits, and we worked and worked on our suntans, and so there's got to be a poem about that somewhere. Maybe I'll write it, and maybe you'll write it. But just hello. And so I was thinking about that as I was walking around outside. I was thinking about all the beautiful canna and calla lilies, and I had a lot of lilies at my house before Hurricane Helene hit us a year and about a half ago now, and just I had a yard full of lilies. Hello, everybody. I guess I'm doing a live stream. I love it. Thank you for joining me. Hello, I see you. Thank you for joining me. And you people who are saying I'm pretty, I'm an old poet here. Now, I do have some of my books of poetry stacked up, and one of them, of course, is Grew Up Loving Elvis, which is has a blurb on the front of it that was given to me by Taylor Swift. And Grew Up Loving Elvis was a book of poetry that's published in Atlanta by Thomas Max, who is owned by Lee Clevenger, or was at the time. And I will tell you, I love that guy. He's making music now under the name of some kook named Lee Silver, and I'm just joking about that. He actually has a very good voice. Hello, Lee, and thank you for but that poetry book did really well, and I want to interject right here and say this one thing, and you may like it or you may not like it, but I'm going to tell you the truth, I like it. I love Taylor Swift. I appreciate Taylor Swift. I appreciate where she came from. I appreciate the fact that she had this brilliance and talent, or she sure couldn't have made it in Nashville. And people say, oh, she made it on her daddy's money. She made it on nobody's money. She made it on her beauty and her brilliance and her timing, which was so perfect for this really young set that was coming along. And there's a lot about the music business that people don't know, but congratulations to beautiful young Taylor Swift and her wonderful new husband now, Travis Kelsey. I wish them great happiness. I saw her mother and family and the videos and stuff like that, and I was just so thrilled that Andrea was still living. Praise God for all this stuff, because she's had cancer too. And I appreciate the fact that this young lady has found happiness. Go easy, Taylor. Don't be too bossy to Travis. Hello, darling, and I'm going to talk to you soon when I get up to Nashville. I appreciate the fact that she was smart enough to pay attention to the words and the songs that she was writing, and they just hit with that younger generation so well, and she's got such a great career. But congratulations on the wedding. I'm so proud to see all that, and I know that a lot of people don't understand my love for music. I am a Mercer, Georgia, Mercer related to Johnny. And I'll tell you one thing, I grew up loving music. Don't think I didn't. And I've got all kind of instruments in there that I play at. And of course, John Richards, who I do a lot of recording with, Robert Hammerstrom, hello Robert, and Lori Hardman, who sings my songs out on the West Coast. Why won't you people let me play on these songs? It's because I play one chord, pull that bow back, and of course you won't let me play anymore. So I leave the music up to the pros, but I leave the poetry up to myself. And we're going to talk a little bit about poetry. Hello, everybody. That I see everybody chiming in. Of course, I'm not totally set up here like I should be, so I actually can't see what everybody's saying without a big screen. We are going to get it all set up. We're showing up to do this. Don't think we're not. I had poetry on my mind. I had word choice on my mind. I'm thinking about poets that publish poetry for various reasons. I publish poetry because I'm a poet. I've always written poetry. I've written poetry since I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I considered my name on that old Adams house. The boards were 2 or 3 feet wide in there. And when nobody was looking, I took a number 2 pencil and write my name on those walls. And yes, I wrote in cursive. I don't think I ever printed. I just scrawled my name on those walls, and then I'd call myself writing a little poetry, which I tell you what. So poetry is our first love, and so many people forget that when they're writing poetry, and I'm going to say this 2 different ways, and this is my opinion. I have been an English teacher. I have a master's degree. I am educated at this. But on this video, I'm going from one thing to the other because I don't actually have my notes right here in front of me. I just saw the opportunity to get on to say hello to you guys. I love you people. I appreciate you so much. If I have 1 or 2 or 3 people that join me and say hello to me, and I'm going to try to see what your comments are right here. I love you just as much if I had 1 million people out there. Of course, I love the words that are found in poetry. And one thing I was thinking about when I was outside walking among the lilies a while ago, I was considering all the grain out there, which is the part about summer that I love so much. One thing that I was thinking about, and I get so excited about this, when I read great poets, what separates a really good poet from somebody writing what I call just pure trash, and what separates really good poets? Do you write poetry so you can fill up your bookcase with your print-on-demand books? And there's nothing wrong with that if that's why you want to write poetry. fill the case up. Let's see what happens. But if you write poetry because you feel like you're having some beautiful poems that you're writing and you want to share those poems, and you want to just see if you can inspire others and see if those words will warm somebody's life or give them ideas for their own poetry, then I think that's just honorable. And I think this is why the really great poets write their poetry. They write their poetry because they feel like the poetry is beautiful and they've worked on the poetry. You don't just write off a rant and call it poetry. Friends, I'm going to tell you something. That is not poetry. If you write rants and your political opinions down, it's not poetry. But I'll tell you that a lot of prose I've read is definitely poetry, and it has that poetic characteristic and those poetic vibes that I'll share with you who some of the people are that I think are writing that poetry that is best. I have a collection, like I've told you before, of poetry books in there, and some of those books are 200 years old. And when I hold a book of poetry that's 200 years old in my hands, it does something to me. And you know what? The first thing it does to me is it makes me weep. I think about the woman Ursula Le Guin who said there are whole societies that never had the use of a wheel, but there's no society that's ever existed on the face of this earth that has not had words, that's not had stories, that's not written poetry and had music and danced around a fire out there in the middle of the wilderness. And you think with me, this whole world loves words, and we love great words. And I think the choice of words in poetry is so magnificent and so important. And I always remember, and this is Miss Peggy's opinion, I'll tell you the poetry workshop is fixing to heat up with some real serious stuff here. But you remember what I'm saying about words. You can choose your words, but you know what? They matter to you. But some people writing what they call poetry, they're not writing poetry. They're writing rants or vulgarity or whatever just to get attention and just to say what they want to say. And you know who that matters to? Nobody. That doesn't matter to a living soul. And that's why they say you're not a great poet and never will be unless you are willing to realize what matters most about poetry. And one of the things that matters most about poetry is word choice. Now, I'm a narrative poet. I write a lot of narrative stuff in my book, Grew Up Loving Elvis, which was published in Atlanta by Thomas Max. In that book, I just have a whole collection of poetry about my growing up years and my childhood because I'm blessed. I'm a queen. I own cattle on 1,000 hills. I have a mansion waiting on me in the sweet by and by. I am blessed on this earth. I'm blessed with a positive attitude. I'm blessed when I write poetry. That poetry just comes out of me. Things move me. Lilies move me. The forest moves me. I have a friend whose husband visits the monastery frequently. I can't even begin to imagine what an absolutely great experience he has in his retreats there. I have a friend who goes up to Maine to a little cabin on an island, and she tells me I am changed when I come back. Have friends that go to Texas. I was in Texas one time on a sabbatical, and I can tell you one thing. I saw a mountain lion walking down one of those hills in the hill country, and I'll tell you one thing. I was so I was just frozen in the moment of the power of that mountain lion out there. And then they always have a lot of, and you people who were raised on farms, you know this, they have a lot of mules out there. And you know what? Those donkeys, they have a lot of donkeys. And you know, the donkeys are the protector of that little crowd of animals roaming free in the woods. And those little donkeys will kick the living daylights out of a coyote or a fox or something. And so all of that is just mesmerizing to me. I make a lot of notes. I take notes everywhere I go. I have little empty booklets. Just sent the grandkids some. And I love the little blank book. And I take one of those to stick it in my pocket everywhere I go. That may sound a little old fashioned, but you've always got to have something to write your thoughts on. I can assure you that if you wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with a wonderful thought, and I'm going to tell you one in just a minute, don't leave this computer right now. If you don't write that thought down, you'll forget it. You will wake up the next morning, you will say, what did I think of it? How did I think it? How did this phrase come to me? So great poets have great habits. And they focus on words. And I'm going to add here, and this is my opinion, although I have been an English teacher and I have taught poetry and taught some workshops in college and so on and so forth. If you don't love your words, nobody else is going to love them. But sometimes you can love what you write and everybody hates it. You know why? It's not poetry. And people say, oh, what is a poem then? A poem is the creation of an image that is very meaningful with a choice of words that either move you, make you laugh, stun you, make you think, make you have thoughts that you have not had before. Now, I have one friend who reads all of my writing, and she is up taking care of her wonderful and old mother. And she told me that some of the writing in one of my novels, Another Island, Another Moon, which is on Amazon, please run, grab a copy. She told me that some of the moments in that book about losing someone you love made her just stop and weep. And she said, after having lost my husband, she said, you know, this book changed my life. This is what the writing has to be about. It can affect you a little bit, but if it don't affect you a lot, it's not going to move anybody else. Also, you may like writing rants and jokes and vulgar jokes and vulgar comments and stuff like that. It's not poetry. You know what? If you want to find out what poetry is, you read the book of poetry and the Next Galaxy by Ruth Stone. You read some of her poetry. If you want to find poetry in prose and the power that we look for among words, get a copy of, and I'm going to share this with you. I don't like to share my private collection because I don't want everybody to run in here maybe and steal my books, which that's happened before too. If you want to read great poetry, get a copy of Dr. Phyllis Estes, her book, The Faithful Gardener, one of the best pieces of prose and poetry that I've ever read in my life. I keep it on my desk. It's like a Bible to me. I love the poetry of Bertolt Brecht, the German poetry about the coal cars rattling along there where it was brutally cold and talking about that precious piece of coal. Whoever thinks about stuff like that? Well, we want to read poetry that gives us thoughts that we haven't had too often, or maybe never even before. We want to read poetry that makes us want to work our wings. You know, God gave everybody a set of wings when He created us. He gave us our own wings, and we need to work those wings. And I have a lot of friends that ask me sometimes what I mean by that. We need to work our wings on a powerful level. And when you're writing poetry, you need to get away from the mundane and get away from the silly stuff. Although I have a sense of humor, and you're going to find that in everything I write. But we need to write the serious poetry that encourages and inspires people as they read to want to have a deeper foundation and a deeper inspiration for what life is all about, maybe. And as far as the narrative poetry, you just cannot lose with narrative poetry. It's my favorite kind of poetry. I write a lot of narrative. My poetry is free verse poetry, although I can do rhymes. I will at a later point do a total songwriting video and maybe some PDF stuff for you there about getting into music in Nashville. If you want me to do that, you're going to let me know. I see people saying hello. Thank you so much. As somebody has said, ma'am, you're looking pretty. You are so sweet. And thank you so much. Let me tell you something. When you get this age, one of the few things you've got left is your writing. Get down on your knees and try to hop back up. It's not like when you were 16 or 17 years old and doing backflips as cheerleaders and stuff like that. Word choice. Let's think about that for just a minute. I was looking at the blue sky. I'm going to give you an example of word choice. It has been hot here. Like I said, I was looking at the blue sky, wondering and maybe praying a little bit it's going to rain. And I was thinking, what a wide blue sky. Can I do better than that? What a blank canvas the sky is. What a background the sky is. What a wonderful way piece of a day is coming along. How green and leathery are the leaves on the trees. Let's hope the rain falls later today. It is hot. It has been in the 90s, and I'm just frankly very sick of it. How do I describe this heat? If you go naked, are you going to just be sweated down? What's going to happen here? So, thinking about word choice, when you write a poem, never be satisfied with that first draft. Always polish that draft. Go in there and think, is this a word that is going to inspire someone somehow, some way? Is this a word that's not real common that I'm going to use here? Well, let's hope it has some meaning if you're going to use it. And let's hope that every word has to strengthen that poem for that poem to move along like it's supposed to. Every word. Now, I have mentioned some books, and we're going to talk about different types of poetry in the next video. I'm going to talk about cinquains. I'm going to talk about name poems. I'm going to talk about acrostic poems. I'm going to talk about lots of different formats. Right now, I'm talking about the power of words in your poetry. I don't want this poem to sound like another person's poetry. I frankly don't like a line where you've got 8 or 9 words on the line, or even 12 or 13, and the next line, and you may do this for drama, and I understand that, the next line has 2 words. I like for poetry to kind of be, I call it just kind of syllabically, syllables. I want the syllables to kind of pan out with the structure of the poem. If you have a word, if you're writing a cinquain, That's got to be 2 sentences, and you're going to find 22 syllables in those 2 sentences. And I'm going to tell you something, you better kind of match it all up. Look at Sidney Lanier, The Marshes of the Glen. Look at the best poetry that's ever been written, and you see what separates the great poets from the wannabes. You could be somebody with a book full of poetry that 20 or 30 books that nobody will ever read, and when you go on to glory, somebody's going to build a fire with it. Is that what you want with your poetry? Decide today what you want to do with your poetry. Do you want to share it with the world? Wouldn't you like to see it on a bestseller list? I know one thing that sure makes me happy, to know that I'm sharing words that give somebody strength, that help somebody figure their self or themselves out of a pickle that they're in, that gives them new insights, that strengthens their own poetry. How did this poet get to this? How did Dr. Phyllis Estes, who, by the way, was the counselor at Columbine, how did she write this? New words root deepest in the places most empty. And that is from her book, The Faithful Gardener. One of the treasures in my entire bookcase of 5,000 books in there is anything Dr. Phyllis Estes has ever written, starting with what? Women Who Run with the Wolves. Now, what makes these poems great poems, why they get book contracts, why they get good advances on their poetry, why they won awards, and my books have won awards. I'm not saying I'm a great poet, but I have learned the power of each word. I work on my poems. I work, I revise, I polish, I do things. Now, this video is getting entirely too long. Another poetry video coming soon, in a few days, maybe Sunday morning when everybody's kind of settled down, got their second cup of coffee going, and that coffee's going to be so good and tasty. So maybe on Sunday morning, I'm going to come back with poetry formats, more on the written word, and how to polish your poetry. That's next, okay? And then I'm going to do you folks a great favor that you don't want to miss. I'm going to do something on poetry markets where you might present your poems to and get them published in magazines or anthologies. I'm going to do a video on poetry markets, people that publish poetry, and I'm going to let you know exactly where to go with your poetry. I appreciate everybody that's joined me today on Oh Yes Poetry. Bye-bye.